Hello and welcome to episode 5 of Canutillo Convos. This is the official Canutillo ISD podcast. We are happy to have two amazing guests, Dr. Galaviz, today.
Yes.
We're going to be discussing some of the exciting news that has been coming out of the district, and to talk to us about these two events that we had this week and last week. We have our Chief Business Officer, Martha Pekarsky, and as well as Sandra Carrillo, who is our early childhood coordinator. Yes, there you go. That's what it is. So Sandra, we're gonna start with you and Dr. Galaviz. We made a very exciting announcement this week.
Yes.
And that's the announcement that Canutillo ISD is going to be the first public school district in the region to launch a public Montessori program.
Yes, the first public school district in the El Paso area to launch Montessori.
What prompted you to start this conversation here in Canutillo?
I think again, gathering with the team and looking at different pedagogy to teach kids. And Montessori has always been a wonder of mine, and I know a lot of Montessori kids and teachers who've gone up through Montessori education, and it's just different from the traditional. I mean, traditional is still a great way if that's what parents want, but it also gives parents another opportunity of a different pedagogy, if you will. And right, school's about choice, and that's what you want to give is parents choices on how and where to educate their kids.
And this leads me to this question for the choice part of it. We continue to be rated A, be the AAA rated school district in the region.
3 A's in a row.
Best small school district in El Paso.
Small school district.
So we are at the forefront of providing options to our families. Why is it important that a school district like Canutillo keep thinking of different avenues and different approaches to education?
Well, that's how we maintain the A. That's how you sustain a quality system, is that you want to keep being innovative and creative to provide multiple opportunities for our kids. And despite we probably have the best teachers in the world, the best principals, but again, we want to be open to new methods of teaching. And so we want to bring that to public education, because historically, especially in this region, this has been just for the private sector with parents that can afford it. And it's like, well, why can't we do it in public schools? They do it in Dallas ISD, they have a public Montessori. They do it in other ISDs, so why not us? Mm-hmm. So for every why not to do something, there's a why not.
Certainly. And Sandra, you and I were talking earlier about the response to the announcement. We're launching this on September 19th. That's when it's starting. And already we're getting tons and tons of calls from parents. Dr. Galaviz mentioned the fact that Montessori is not new to El Paso. It's been offered in private settings for decades. But the opportunity for families to have access to this free of charge has really been attractive to a lot of families. Talk to us about how it came about, the launch and the design of this program, and who is it for at this moment right now?
Okay. So initially when we started to look at this possibility, the conversation first started with opening up a pre-K3 in the school district. We've continuously tried to bring new opportunities to our youngest children, by offering universal pre-K last year, and then now opening up the pre-K3, and then in speaking with Dr. Galaviz and our team, that's when the conversation came up with, how about Montessori? Why can't we provide this opportunity to the children in our district? So we started off with the research. We were able to visit a local Montessori school here, close by to our district. They were very welcoming, and they were super excited. I mean, and it was actually Natalia from Mountain West Montessori who responded to Dr. Galaviz's questions. They opened up their campus to us. We got to go visit. We got to look at the infant and toddler classrooms and the 3-year-old classrooms, and we were really, I mean, the environment was so peaceful and welcoming, and we got to really see the way that these children were learning, and they were so excited that we were looking at the possibility of opening up this type of a method and approach to learning in a public school setting, because like Dr. Galaviz mentioned, it's primarily been for, it's been a private school, and it's only those, certain population of students that can attend, and so they were very, like I said, helpful in helping us to make that decision, and providing us with what the requirements were and what they look at in terms of the certification process and all of that. So we started to move forward with that. We knew that if we were going to offer this to the children and the families in our community, that we need to do this right. We needed to be true to the model, and we also needed to look at what it meant opening it up in a public school district by following guidelines under TEA, but also looking at our district as a district of innovation, and what we made sure that we kind of followed all of those steps to make sure that it was done appropriately. So we moved forward with looking for, of course, the Montessori teacher, which
called guides.
Exactly, which they are, yes. Guides. So they are called guides, and we wanted to make sure that they had that certification, and that they were well experienced. So we were able to interview and bring in some of these ladies, the guides that came to meet with us, and we were really impressed. They live the philosophy of Montessori. They are very experienced in all levels, and so that's how we started to move forward. And then, of course, getting district approval, going to the board. Everybody here at Canutillo has been extremely excited and very supportive about moving forward with this process. There hasn't been any pushback in terms of, well, no, it's not traditional or anything like that. I think it's always been in my experience in working here the past almost 7 years, that anytime that we bring something to the table, like Dr. Galaviz says, well, why not? Why can't we do it? Anytime I've had to ask for, certain things, it's always been, okay, how can we make this happen? So it's been a really wonderful experience. Then, of course, once we get the board approval, then it's just been a process of the materials, making sure that all of the materials are high quality, so that we are equipping the classroom with everything that is needed to start with a solid foundation in the program. We've reached out to, like he mentioned, Dallas ISD. They've also provided us with guidance. And so moving forward, we wanted to make sure that was in place. The campus that we are going to be hosting this first cohort of students will be at Garcia Elementary School. Principal completely on board, also did the visits. We've all been part of the process with the research. And then, so with the press release that we held and the press conference that we held this week, we wanted to make sure that we were honoring and celebrating the founder of this philosophy. So hosting and making the official announcement on Maria Montessori's birthday, 152nd birthday, was also key, which I think kind of is just a great way to start this process and this opportunity. And so we will be starting with a cohort of 3-year-old children. So again, going back to how this all came about, opening it up to our 3-year-old program with the idea that we are going to expand because as we know, Montessori is a multi-age, they work in multi-age classrooms, and so we're going to open up to the 3s with the idea that we're building and adding in the 4s, the 5s, and moving forward with that. And so we're looking at the first day of school being on September the 19th.
Right.
It will be a full day program. It will be a dual language program. And like you mentioned, it is free. With that parent orientation, the expectations will be laid out to parents. Pre-K, our Montessori guides, the 2 Montessori guides that we have will be providing additional information on what the program looks like, so that way parents can make that decision if this is something that they want to move forward with and it's right for their children, because it is different. It's a different way of learning,
And speaking to the 2 guides, I learned a lot about Montessori. I was not very familiar with it, we spoke to them because we wanted to develop a logo to go with the program, and we learned about how the census really played a key role in here, how auto education plays a key role, and really self-pacing and making sure that the child learns at his or her own pace.
Yes.
So it seems very exciting, and the response has been tremendous. The phones have been ringing out the hook at Garcia, so we know there's interest from throughout the city. We are starting it off with our kids, right? Obviously, we're serving Canutillo families first. Space availability may be there for other families in the county, but we want to make sure we continue to serve our community, right? Our community first, so they're going to be a priority here.
Yes.
Dr. Galaviz, the response has been tremendous, and we want to continue to sort of offer these types of high quality services to our families. Can you talk about the other programs that we have? We have at the middle schools, we have the STEAM Academy and the health services.
But we also at BCE, we have a program from UTEP, right?
Yes.
And that's helping us. Sandra, can you talk about that?
Yes,
BCE?
and I was just going to mention, so kind of tying it into what the innovative ideas that we've been incorporating in early childhood as that foundation, because as you were mentioning, Gustavo, it starts at the pre-K. It starts as soon as those children set foot in our classrooms, that's where it starts, right? And even before then, because of course, their first teacher are their parents. But we want to make sure that we're providing those innovative programs that's going to continue as they go into middle school and high school and all of those things. So one of the things that we have a partnership with UTEP, and a few years back, our UTEP early childhood instructors came in and they started working with our pre-K there, we started an environment called a makerspace, and it was a Future Miners Metals Lab focused on math, engineering, technology, the arts, literacy, and the sciences. And it was a makerspace, and it was a Reggio Emilia inspired classroom. And that's where I was going to tie that into, that in addition to the method of teaching through Montessori, we're also using the Reggio Emilia approach, and we've created an environment there that focuses on critical thinking, problem solving, creativity, and collaborative play, which also is very similar to the Montessori, whereas Reggio Emilia is a little bit more collaborative and Montessori is a little bit more independent. You still take you look at the child as a whole, and the teaching kind of evolves from there. And with Reggio Emilia, it's collaborative. Teachers are facilitators. Montessori, you have the teacher as the guide that guides the learning. So we have those two programs that I'm really excited that we're able to bring the best of what we know, the best practices in early childhood, and using all approaches to teach the whole child and meet the needs of all children. It's not just that one size fits all. It's how are we going to do that. And so we are going to be we have a wonderful learning environment, play-based learning environment at Bill Childress Elementary, where we launched our universal pre-K last year. And we are replicating that same model at the other 5 campuses.
Great.
So if your child goes to any of the 6 campuses in the district, pre-K and kinder, they're going to get the same experiences and opportunities. Teachers are going to be trained, but that's another thing that I'm hoping that we can also promote.
And I think that it's pre-K through 3 is where it's at. It's that foundation. It's like when MP, you have kids, Sandra, you have kids, I have kids, because you have your hockey player kids. But it's the foundation. And like Sandra was saying, parents are their first teachers at home. But when they come to us, it's that foundation that we're setting to get these kids to think. For example, I was at Reyes this morning, and Mr. Norega, 5th grade teacher, hey, kudos to you. But on his wall, and the level of the students of their work, and it was just thinking. It wasn't 2 + 2 = 4. It was like, why? Some answers are not correct, but and I had a little girl out there explain it to me, because it was just phenomenal. But again, that starts at those pre-K through 3 teachers, because the kid doesn't learn that at 3rd grade. And I know the state wants to test the star in 9th grade, and it's pre-K through 3, and that's that foundation that we're trying to set for all our campuses.
Well, and it's an exciting time, right, to be here in Canutillo for all these great programs. But in order to pay for these programs, we need a tax rate. And that's the other piece of great news that we had this year.
Woo, taxes.
I know, right? So we have our chief business officer.
Do you ever have a bunch of accountants at a party?
I don't think that exists.
But there were a bunch of auditors, accountants at a party.
No, that's not a party.
So that's what I want to ask us is, are you sure that you have a captive audience? Because as soon as I say, let's talk about the tax rate, everybody says, my taxes are going up. That's all I need to know.
You know what, Martha? I am one of the few people that would actually get excited about tax reform. So
excellent.
So the school board last week adopted the tax rate for the school year. It's a tax rate that is set at $1.30 per 100 valuation, and it's 4 cents lower than it was last year. This is in large part due to tax rate compression that came down from the state. It is a lower tax rate than in previous years, obviously. Tell us why our tax rate is going down.
Okay, it all has to do with the state legislature. They decided that too much of the burden was going on the local community through local taxes, and in order to reduce that local burden, they committed to compressing our tax rate. And so anytime Canutillo is growing faster than the rest of Texas, which we are growing at approximately 11% and have been for the past couple of years, and the state is averaging around closer to 4%. So I don't want to say it's a reward, but a benefit for us being able to raise more taxes because of that increased property value. They have allowed us to reduce our rate. So if you look at the newspaper ad that Canutillo is required to post every year before we adopt the tax rate, it does say that this rate, even though it's lower, so it went from $1.34 down to $1.30, but it will raise more tax dollars than it did in the previous year.
So basically, what the state is telling us then is that our tax rate is lower because our tax base is growing.
Exactly.
And our tax base is growing because we're seeing a lot more homes being built in the district, businesses coming in, and we're one of only 2 school districts in the region that are actually experiencing enrollment growth, and people are moving into our school district. What does new home construction mean for our district financially?
Okay, and I'm going to say this is a big misconception people have, is that because our property values are going up, that our revenues will go up. So just because the local revenues are increasing due to the property values, not due to the tax rate, any tax rate increase. However, the state has capped us at a per student, at a per student level. And the calculation of that would be a whole nother podcast.
It's something that we need to be a CPA to understand.
Worse. Okay, so just imagine a glass, and the glass gets filled up with local revenues, and then the state makes up the difference up to that cap. And so as our local goes up, the state revenues are being decreased. And so that we're capped at that level. And that's why we always say that the only way to get additional revenues is to get additional students.
Right. So we're experiencing that growth, and people may assume that more homes means more revenue, but the state is decreasing revenue to us because our local revenue is increasing. So
Exactly.
it's sort of a catch-22.
As they give it, the state will take it.
Right. So
That's exactly it.
and we're funded, and I think that there's I hear this all the time. I pay so much in taxes, right? But the state doesn't fund us based on that. They fund us based on average daily attendance. So in order for us to receive more funding from the state, we, like you mentioned, we would need to increase our enrollment, and our enrollment will be increasing because we're building homes.
And that's the crazy thing, because one of the pushes by superintendents is pay us for our enrollment. Don't pay us for 95% or 96%. We have 6,225 kids today. Pay us for that, not 95%.
Right.
It's not right. I mean, it's such an antiquated system that they just keep doing it over and over.
And that's something, Doc, that I've been hearing a lot recently. This push to shift the funding mechanism from attendance to enrollment. And it's gaining traction.
Yeah.
But of course, it will take action from the legislature.
Representative Moody, Dr. Gonzalez, Ms. Blanco, and senators from this region, and to get with other regions to say, hey, let's make a push. That would be, I won't say fair, because that would be probably the quickest way to help us, public schools to pay us for our enrollment.
The enrollment we have. Yeah.
Versus ADA.
Yeah, it's a difficult.
I think I'd pay my bond.
Yeah.
Let me just mention one other thing. As far as the tax rate goes, is that when people see their tax bill and their tax bill has increased, Canutillo is only one line item on
Right.
that tax bill. So it's not like the district is the one that's raising.
Although we get blamed for it all the time, right? Like
All the time.
we're like the city, and not to point fingers, but I'm pointing fingers. The city just
Which finger?
the city just published on social media a graphic saying like this is how much your city taxes due, but in it also has a figure saying like the portion of your taxes is mostly taken by the schools, and sort of kind of pointing a finger at us like, and yes, our portion is the largest portion, but our duty and our heft is the biggest one as well. We're educating children here. We're not it's not a light task that we have, and I always take offense to that sort of finger pointing. But another misconception that normally comes up is that that we're not budgeting wisely, right? That we're not using that we it's no secret we're going out for a bond election, and people seem to think that we should just tighten our belts and save some money so we can fix our schools. But Martha, people don't seem to understand that without these bond mechanisms, the state will not send us additional funding for school construction, much less school fixing.
So you're exactly correct. If you look at all the states and how they fund education, Texas is near the bottom. I want to say that we're close to 47 in funding education. And so the normal process.
Because they spend so much money on other stuff. That $12 million that they're using
to send immigrants away.
Yeah, you know, the $12 million you could pump into education.
Right. We could you know, build that addition at Vegas for that. But you know, I think it's important for the taxpayers to understand that we are not mismanaging funds, that we're not saving money, that the money that we receive is the money that is being used to fully educate the child, you know, for paying those teachers, for paying for those programs, for paying our light bills that keep our schools open. That's what that money goes for. That money doesn't really give us the funding that we need to patch those holes in the roof, to build the classroom additions that we need, to build the new schools that we need because of growth.
Right, all of that, the normal process for a school district to fund those types of capital expenditures and any kind of construction is through a bond issue. And the state will assist us with through the new facilities allotment or the instructional facilities allotment, but not until after you pass the bond. So without the bond, there is no funding coming for new construction or renovation.
Basically the state is saying, we will give you some funding, but there's got to be buy-in from the community through a bond.
Exactly.
Right. Well, bond election is coming up. So you all know, I invite everyone to log into our website at canutillo-isd.org/Canutillo Bond 2022 to learn more about the Every Child, Every School bond referendum. That's going to be on the ballot on November 8th. We will be engaging our community in a very robust way, starting now, basically, and we will be setting up meetings, setting up booths, and reaching our families to make sure that they fully understand the bond and the impact that it will have on their families. But for the time being, Dr. Galaviz, you want?
Yeah, I think one of the things with MP Martha Pekarsky is Proposition B, because that's that $10 million we use for during COVID, the Apple computer. Every time parents, your child opens up that Mac, that Apple, and every teacher connectivity, that wasn't free. That was a bold move by our trustees and our team to make sure our kids had that device. So, but we spent $10 million. Now we're at 8.369, 8,369. But tell me about where that money comes from, and if we pass Proposition B, how that frees up other monies.
Thank you, Dr. Galaviz, because yes, Proposition B keeps me up at night. That was a loan that the school district took out on the maintenance and operation on the local side. And so the payments on that loan are approximately $1.1 million, and they're due every August. And so if we could, that loan was styled such that when we took it out, that it was styled such that we could move it over to a bond, over to our INS tax rate, should a successful bond program pass. And so that is Proposition B, and what we're doing is just moving that from our local budget over to our debt service budget. And over there we can manage those payments much easier than we can out of our local budget.
Well, I'm gonna put it in the non-CPA way.
Okay.
If we pay off this debt that we have for the computers, we will have about $1.1 million in additional funding for general purposes in the district.
Yeah.
And that could include new programming for students, salary increases, whatever we may need.
Yes, sir,
Okay.
exactly.
That's it. The non-CPA.
The non-CPA.
Invite them to the party because they're the ones that has the wallet to pay for it.
They're gonna pay for it. Well, I want to thank everyone for listening to this latest episode of Canutillo Convos, and we're excited to get out there and start talking to people about the great things happening in Canutillo ISD. Thank you both for joining Dr. Galaviz
Oh,
and I.
anytime.
And we will see you next week.
Thank
Okay,
you.
thank
Bye.
you. Thank you.